This is D-Day week, and of course, lots of people taking time to remember Canadian war sacrifices. But have you ever tried to find a Canadian war graveyard? You might think it would be easy to do. You might think there's a government website out there. That's what Kim Walker thought when she started out on her project of Canada's Remembers and providing a guide to people. Kim joins me now from just outside of where Juno Beach is. She is in Normandy. She's in France for the ceremonies and the festivities. And Kim, uh, tell me the story of how this came about, how you decided that you needed to do a website to help Canadians, many of whom, when they are in Europe, say, you know what, I want to see a gravesite, either because they've got relatives or maybe they just want to honor the sacrifice of our fallen. How did you decide that you needed to do this guide?
Thanks for having me, Brian. Happy to talk about it. It's a bit of a passion project for me. So I discovered the landing beaches when I was young, when I was a university student doing a study abroad here. And over the years have been going back many, many times to these spots, taking other people, sometimes going on my own. And I just don't want people to forget. They're very, very moving places when you see them. And I I will say that the government site is amazing for explaining what the battle means. The Veterans Affairs is amazing for that, but it doesn't tell the person who's visiting Paris, how do I get in a rental car and get to two or three of these places in a day or two? And I've had quite a few people ask, including a young couple this past summer, a 30-year-old couple. And it just really inspired me to find out that young people still want to do this, that they're still really interested. And so I decided I would just create itineraries, free downloadable itineraries for Canadians. So I wrote a website. I went back over to France in last January because I really wanted to measure distance and time, and it was a little chilly. So hopefully people make it over there maybe in warmer weather. And I'm here now, and the weather is absolutely spectacular. Thankfully for the D-Day ceremonies. But I decided to write it down as a website because it's the easiest thing. Everybody has a phone. They're going to use their phone to get around, to look things up, and hopefully put the GPS in. So my website with these free, itineraries literally says, set your GPS now, step 1 to Juno Beach Center. Okay, now you're there. Give yourself a couple hours there. Now there's a cemetery just south of there. You do not want to miss this. Set your GPS to Benny-sur-Mer Cemetery, pay your respects, bring a little flag, put it at a headstone. So that was the inspiration.
And you've got it in different sections on the website. And it's like, so right now I'm looking at the World War II D-Day in 2 days, and it's Paris to Juno and the Gold Landing beaches. But you also have World War I in there as well. Does that take you just in France, or do you go through to Belgium?
Good question. So there's 3 itineraries for World War II right now. There's a 1-day option from Paris, and then there's 2 2-day options because Canadians, as you know, had another disastrous landing, unfortunately, in 1942 in Dieppe. So one of those 2-day itineraries adds in Dieppe, and the other 2-day itinerary goes the other way over more towards Gold Beach, where Bayeux and Arromanches are. But World War I, there's actually 6 itineraries. There are several, 4 of them from Paris and 2 from Belgium, and they do cross over France and Belgium all the way along the areas where that front moved over 4 years in those sad towns where we lost more than 60,000 Canadians in that war, and they're there. And there are many thousands, hundreds of cemeteries. So yeah.
You made my day when I woke up to a message from you with a photo of Sergeant Lilley. Now, I don't know if this person's related to me. People fight in all sorts of different areas, different parts of the military in both world wars. But they were mostly from Britain. So I'm going on Ancestry to find out if I'm related, but it was still joy. It was like, oh, wow, this is incredibly cool. What's the experience you've had? You've said you've taken many people to these graveyards, to these landing beaches and these sites. What's the reaction for those that haven't been before?
That's great. It still makes me cry. I attended a ceremony today, actually, that was a dedication just a little bit south of the Juno Beach landing spot. And it was a dedication by the local French people in the French communities around here, to dedicate a spot that had been a very, very early aerodrome. This basically the day after the Canadians landed and started moving inland, they set up were able to set up an aerodrome, and but unfortunately, because of the heavy losses, there was a cemetery, a temporary cemetery set up in that location. So it was a dedication of a memorial. And I cried. I cried. They had little kids bringing the wreaths forward. They take it very, very seriously. And it still gets to me. The first time I ever went, I was 23 years old, and I was walking around in Dieppe and Bayeux, and I thought, I've outlived a lot of these people. And now I have a son who's even older than that, and he's outlived these people. And it's very moving to see rows and rows of headstones of young men who gave up their lives for all of our freedom. So it is emotional. It's definitely worth doing.
The guides look fantastic. The entire website easy to navigate. But tell me, was this because of your personal history, or the fact that you had ancestors that had fought? I mean, have you found headstones of ancestors there?
I'm like you. I have found a lot of Walkers. Walker is a fairly common name. Your name with your spelling is not as common. And when I looked up yours, I was searching, and I knew where I was going to be. So I did a search on the Commonwealth War Graves Commission database, and I searched by the name of your last name, Lilley spelling, and narrowed it down. So I was surprised but happy that I was able to go and lay a flag for you this, to commemorate somebody in your family. I know for a fact that my grandfather flew in the RCAF, and he was 18, 19 years old when he registered. He was in Kingston, Ontario, and went to flight school there, and he was home within a couple of years after having flown almost 30 missions, like
Wow.
like childs. So he thankfully survived that. My husband's father also flew for the RCAF, and as did many of his brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles. The mother and the father on that side of the family also participated in the war, and thankfully came home. But the town that my husband's from in Eastern Ontario is where Stormont Dundas Glengarry Regiment is from, and they had heavy losses. So it's very personal when you're walking around and you see the family names of people that I know right now, and I know that they lost uncles and brothers and sons
When
over
you're
there.
talking about that part of the country, you know that while those families are still there, that they haven't moved, that
Yeah,
the roots are deep.
yeah. And today too, the ceremony that I attended today, was a two regiments they were the very first ashore, and they had extraordinarily high losses. Yeah.
What shocks me, Kim, but pleasantly shocks me, is that it's 80 years on and the French people are still remembering as well and still showing gratitude, as are the Dutch, the Belgians, and elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm glad
It's a
you
little
mentioned that.
surprising to me, though.
Yeah, I they really do. Now, it's a mixed feeling right now, today, and this whole week. It's very celebratory here. The people, there's lots of people dressed up in the old uniforms. There's people driving around in the old Jeeps. There's flags and banners everywhere. In various towns, there's old 40s style swing dances and musicals. It's a family event. They're celebrating. And I think that's for me, this has always been a little sadder and a lot more about remembrance and the importance of us choosing peace over war. And just when you see the
But
damage that's done.
for them, it was about liberation.
Exactly. And so this has been really incredible for me to be here this week, to see that both sides of it. Now, the ceremony, the French people, the French towns today, the ceremony was very somber and very thankful. And they were reading letters from people who were here in the towns during the liberation. It was quite somber. But at the same time, you're right, they were freed finally after all those years. For them, this is a celebration of freedom and liberty. And it's really amazing to see it. And I think that's why the families can participate. That's how you can hand it down and say, remember, let's celebrate this. Let's make this really, let's remember this. In Holland, especially in the Netherlands, they really get their students involved a lot. I'm planning to do another itinerary that I will add to the website for the Netherlands. I'm going to do that one in September, and hopefully also Italy. But here also, I have seen the fundraising today. That was a high school. Those were students who are participating, students laying the wreath, students participating in the remembrance ceremony.
Kim, thanks so much for this passion project of yours, and I will definitely be using it when I'm able to do the trip that you've described so well. Thanks so much.
I hope you will. Thank you. So CanadaRemembersGuide.com.
Do make sure that you check it out and share your stories from your family's military history in the comments below. Make sure you share this on social media, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.